Good morning. So let us solve these problems in this homework number 9. It's quite a while we didn't do that. So the first question is, let f of x be this function. We want to calculate f prime of the square root of 3. So do you remember this homework was about the chain rule? Okay. So this is a very straightforward question. A function is given. You are supposed to calculate the derivative of this function, calculated that x equals to square root of 3. So let me write here this on the board. So this is the function. We are supposed to calculate f prime square root of 3, yes? Okay, so you know that this is the chain rule because the formula like this is not in the formula sheet. So what you have to do is to take this in your head as u, and then you will have a square root of u. The derivative of a square root of u follows the same as if u is x, but you have to multiply by u prime at the end. So that's the whole point of the chain rule. So if I want to differentiate it, it becomes, because the derivative of the square root of x, hopefully you know, is 1 over 2 square root of x. Now instead of x, I have u, which is a function of x. It follows the same rule, 1 over 2 square root of u, but you have to multiply by an extra u prime. And then this process will continue. So this becomes 1 over 2 square root of u, so I have to copy and paste everything here, but multiplied by the derivative of u. Yes? But the derivative of this is the difference rule. It becomes the derivative of this one minus the derivative of that one, but this one is constant, so its derivative is 0, so what you are supposed to do. So let me do everything here. So I copy and paste these. Of course, it is much better to do these things faster in your head, but let me do it step by step. So this prime goes here and there. The prime going there gives you 0. Constant derivative of a constant number is 0. The derivative is going there. So I have to calculate the derivative of this one only. Yes? But then again, this is the same idea. This time, I will take this to be u in my head and follow the same rule. So I will copy and paste this first part. And the derivative of the square root of u is again 1 over what? 2 square root of u. But it is not finished because you have to multiply by the derivative of u. But u is in this case x squared plus 1, so its derivative is just 2x. So you just write 2x here. This is your derivative. For example, this 1, this 2 and 2 can be cancelled, but the rest of it cannot be simplified that much. Okay, so now I have to replace x with the square root of 3. So the question mark, which is f prime of the square root of 3, is equal to, wherever you see x, you put the square root of 3. And so let us do some calculations in our head. So 1 over 2 is there. But if I put the square root of 3 here, raised to power 2 becomes 3. 3 plus 1, 4. Square root of 4, 2. 2 minus 1, 1. It's 1. But that's it. And then I go here. 1 over what? Square root of 3 to power 2. 3 plus 1, 4. Square root 2. So it's 1 over 2. And then I have a square root of 3 here as well. So if we have done everything right, this should be the options. Yes, it is? Yes. So here we choose this question, this answer. Is that clear? So this wouldn't say this is a hard question. You should be able to do at this level. So it's not a hard question. Even though I still consider it a level question, but you should be able to do it at this level. So let us go to the next question. So the next question is, let g of x be equals to 2x squared plus 5, and let f be a function such that f prime of 7 is minus 6. If h of x equals to f of g of x, then what is the number for h prime of 1? This is also a very standard exercise in the chain rule, okay? Okay, so the next question is this one. A function is given, g. We don't know f, but we have one piece of information about f. We know f prime of 7 is minus 6, and the function h of x is given to be f of g of x, f after g, h prime 1 is wanted. This is considered a level question in the book, but this is extremely a standard problem, and it's very simple. Right? So what you do, you go, if you have forgotten, the chain rule, so you have to read it from the formula sheet, and you know that this is the formula, yes. Why even I need to bother about this formula? Because if I want to calculate the derivative of a function at a point, exactly as in problem number 1, what should I do? I have to differentiate my function first, as I did in the previous one, and then when differentiation is finished, I replace x with the given number. So from exactly the same idea, I will do the same. So I have, if I want to answer the question mark, I have to differentiate my function. After the differentiation is finished, replace every x with number 1, then I will get my answer. So this is not hard to understand that I have to start from here, because I have to differentiate this, and then if you're familiar with the chain rule, you realize this is the most standard form of the chain rule. Yes, you differentiate, and then what you need h prime of 1. So what I'm supposed to do, I have to replace every x with 1. And if the problem is designed correctly, you shouldn't face any problems, yes? So in order to calculate this, I need to answer what is this one and what is this one. So I have to answer these questions, but each one of them is an E-level question now. If I want to calculate g prime of x, g prime of 1, if g of x is this function, what I'm supposed to do? I have to differentiate g first, but this is the simplest possible exercise, so it is just 4x. And then I can calculate g prime of 1 by replacing x with 1, so it becomes 4. So answer the second question mark is very simple. To answer the first question mark, before answering the whole package, I have to do it in 2 steps, yes? First, I need to ask myself what this is, so that I can calculate f prime at that number. But in order to answer what g1 is, what should I do? I have to go to my original function g and replace x with 1. What happens? It becomes 7. That is why they have to design the question in a correct way. If they have given you f prime of 0 is minus 6, we cannot solve this because we don't know f. We just need one. We have only one piece of information regarding f. So the person who designed the question, in this case me probably, has designed the question in a correct way so that you can solve. So this is f prime of 7. So what happens? F prime of 7 is given to be minus 6. G prime of 1 is given to be 4. So if you multiply them, the answer is minus 24. Okay, so you have to write minus 24 in that empty box. Any questions? These questions are standard questions. They are not really above your payroll, yes? Yeah. Let us go to the next problem. Okay. If f and g are functions such that f prime of 6 is 2, and f of 5x plus 1 plus g of 3x minus 2 equals to 2x squared, then g prime of 1 is what? Okay, you can think a little bit about the problem until I put it on the board. Okay, so this is the question. What do you think I should do for this question? I mean, these are a standard question, I would say. You don't see some question like this in the book, but these are not hard questions. These are very standard chain rule problems. So what should I do? So just read the problem. You know a piece of information about f, and that is f prime of 6 is 2. And then this relation is given. What is the meaning of f5x plus 1? It means that if you have access to f of x, you go to f of x, replace x with 5x plus 1 everywhere. This is the meaning of f5x plus 1. And the same story for g of 3x minus 2. So if you want to use this piece of information to say something about the derivative of g, and especially the information you are given is about derivative of f, it shouldn't be hard. And because we are talking about derivatives, it is very easy to understand. We have to differentiate. Okay? But how should I differentiate? A function, whatever this is equal to this function. So it means that the derivative of the whole package on the left should also be equal to the derivative of what is on the right. This is the first step. okay? Because you cannot differentiate in another way. So that's why I'm saying, if this function is equal to that function, this is extremely important to understand why you are doing things, you know? That is why I emphasize so much to understand, for example, the sum rule and the other rules that are even the book doesn't bother to talk about. Okay, so this is clear, isn't it? Because whatever is on the left is equal to whatever. This left side is something related to x. It's a function of x. And that's also a function of x. So if two functions of x are equal, then the derivative of the left should also be equal to the derivative of the left. But now I have to apply the sum rule. The right-hand side is extremely simple, yes? 4x. The left-hand side is the sum of two functions. So which rule is applicable first? The sum rule. The sum rule tells you that you can calculate the derivative of the first one. If you put prime there, it means that you don't understand the chain rule. Yes? You have to put prime there. And then plus the derivative of this one. This is the correct way of writing it. And I told you, do you remember when I was teaching you, I told you the standard chain rule is given in this form. So, what was the standard chain rule? The standard chain rule is if h of x is f of g of x, then h prime of x is equal to f prime of g of x times g prime of x. But I told you a little bit different story. I told you sometimes when you say h prime of x, you mean the derivative of this expression. So I told you the good way of understanding the chain rule is in this way. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I told you that these notations are similar, but they don't mean the same thing. Putting prime there and putting prime there, they are not the same as you see here. Yes? One of them is equal to the other one multiplied by g prime of x. So putting prime here or putting prime there is extremely important. They are not equal. Unless g prime of x is 1. If g prime of x is 1, then these two notations are equal. For example, is there any difference between f of x totally prime or f prime of x? No. Because here g of x is x, so there is no difference between this one and that one, because if g of x is x, g prime of x is guaranteed to be 1, and there is no difference between these notations. Yes, so if you have x here, between this and that there is no difference. But if there is something there whose derivative is not 1, it is important to put the derivative up there or there. Yes? And I have to put the derivative up there because when I say the derivative of the first one, I mean whatever this is, I want to take the derivative of it. Okay, but now you understand what to do, yes? So tell me, what should I do from here? This is exactly this formula. So it means that I can write here g of x is 5x plus 1. Okay, so what should I do? I would put prime here, but there is a price to pay for it. What is the price? I have to multiply by the derivative of what is inside. Yes? And the same story here. What should I write? I can flip the prime here, but the price to pay is to multiply by the derivative of what is inside. And on the right hand side I will have 4x. But the prime is not finished here, we can do better here. 5x plus 1 prime is just 5. If you don't mind, let me write 5 on the left. And if I ask you what the derivative is, 3, write it on the left. Okay, this is the best you can do. You cannot go forward because you don't have access to the function formulas for f and g. This is the best we can do. But now, what is wanted? The question mark is g prime of 1. So I have to adjust a good value for x. Which value for x is good here? 1. Why? Because if I choose x to be 1, then this becomes g prime of which value? 1. And that's exactly what I want. And then the problem should be well designed. Otherwise I will be in trouble. I cannot solve that. So this means that this I replace x with 1 here. Then what happens? This becomes 5f prime of which number? 5 plus 1, 6. Plus 3 g prime of which number? 1. On the right hand side becomes 4 times 1. But then I am looking for this. This is my question mark. But the good news is that I have access to it. F prime of 6 is 2. So then I put it here. So if you don't mind, let me write it here. So it becomes 5 times 2 plus 3g prime of 1 is equal to 4. 10, this becomes minus 6. So g prime of 1 is minus 2. Yes? So that is also, I would say this is a good question.
Baba,
Okay, yes.
is it okay to substitute x with 1 in the beginning?
No. Why should we?
Because, I mean, I still got the same answer, so I...
No, that is a coincidence. No, that is wrong. Yes, if you replace x with 1, the left-hand side becomes f of 6 plus g of 1 equals to whatever. But f of 6 is just a constant. So when you differentiate, it becomes 0.
That's the issue. Okay, it was about a coincidence. That's what I was...
Yes, that is a coincidence. Yeah, I haven't thought about that in that way, so I should probably remove that coincidence. That is not correct.
Okay.
Yes? Because whenever you want to calculate derivative at a number, the first starting point is to differentiate. Because if you just replace with numbers, then you get a constant, so the derivative is always 0.
Always 0, yeah.
Okay, any questions? Understandable? Okay. Now let us go to the next problem. If the derivative of f of x is equal to 1 over x squared, the derivative of f of 1 over x squared is equal to what? Okay, so let me go to the board. What we know, we have an English sentence. If the derivative of f of x is equal, so they have mentioned that derivative of f of x is what?
Over x squared.
Is 1 over x squared. This is, they are mentioning you. So let me write it in English. Is 1 over x squared. They are asking you what is the derivative of f of 1 over x squared. This is wanted. Okay? So how should I solve the problem? This English sentence should be translated to what? Should be translated to f of x totally prime is 1 over x squared. But I just told you, if there is x, there is no difference between putting up there or down there. So when they talk about the derivative of a function, it means totally prime. But totally prime, or putting prime here, if the argument is just simply x, there is no difference. So I want you to understand this is the correct way of interpreting this. But then, of course, you understand there is no difference between this and this. So if you have interpreted in that way, that's of course true. But now it is important, when they are asking you about this question mark, what they are asking? Are they asking about f prime of 1 over x squared? Or they are asking about f of 1 over x squared totally prime? Totally prime is always the case. If they ask you about what is the derivative of this, it means whatever that is, you need to take the derivative of the whole packages. No, I just told you the difference. Yes? There is a big difference if you put prime there or prime here. Yes? That is the whole... But that's the chain rule again. Okay? This exercise is about the chain rule. Okay, so is that understandable? So when they ask you about what is the derivative of this combination, what they mean, by the way, you shouldn't get confused. Why? Because if I give you if I ask you find the derivative of this expression or function, what do? In principle, you should have access to f. You go and replace all x's in f with this combination. It becomes a new combination of x, and then they are asking what the derivative of that combination is. So this is exactly this symbol, not that symbol. I told you what is the difference between, but do you remember what was the difference when I was teaching?
Yeah.
This symbol means first replace x with g of x and then differentiate. This means what? First differentiate and then replace x with g of x. And the chain rule tells me they are not the same always. That's the whole point, okay? So if I ask you what is the meaning of this symbol means calculate f prime first and go in f prime, replace every appearance of x in f prime with 1 over x squared. This tells me first replace every x in f with 1 over x squared, it becomes a new function of x. Whatever that function is, differentiate it. They are not the same, okay? Unless the derivative of inner function is 1, which in this case is not, okay? And when they say the derivative of this, they don't mean this. They mean this. So this is your question. But now this question mark can be done using the chain rule. So so the question mark is f of 1 over x squared totally prime. If you compare it with the standard chain rule formula, what is playing the role of g in this combination? G, the inner function, is 1 over x squared. So the answer becomes what? The answer becomes f prime of g of x, but multiplied by 1 over x squared prime. Okay, so this is a very good exercise. It's a very simple one, but it teaches you everything you really need to know about the chain rule at a deeper level. Okay, now this one should be very simple for you now. This is a Ma4 problem. So what should I do with this one? I bring it up, so it becomes x to the power of minus 2. Then I differentiate. I know the rule, minus 2 goes down, x to power minus 3. And I prefer to write it with positive exponent, so it becomes minus 2 over x cubed. Okay, this problem is solved. But can you tell me how can I solve this one? Again, you have to have a good understanding. You have to understand what this symbol means. Okay, what does this symbol mean? It means first you differentiate, you did it, because it was given in the problem. The derivative is given, so it means differentiation of f is finished here. Then you have to replace x with g of x. F prime of g of x means differentiate f first and then replace x with g of x. Okay? So I differentiate f first, I did it, that was given information to me. Then f prime of 1 over x squared is what? It means that differentiate f, go to your f prime, replace x with this combination. So this becomes 1 over, if you remove x, there will be an empty space. That empty space should be filled up with this combination. Yes? And then it becomes what? X to the power of 4. And finally, the question mark is this part, which is x to power 4, multiplied by minus 2x to power 3. Yes? This x3 and that are simplified, so the answer is just simply minus 2x. I would consider this is a very good question if you really want to understand the chain rule at a little bit deeper level. Okay, so the algebra is quite minimal, but it is really conceptual. So the people who understand what I told you during the lesson, they can succeed to solve this problem. Any questions? Is that understandable? So if you go to the notes, I think the notes are available, yes, on Google Drive. So there is a difference between them if you want to review. F of g of x prime means replace x in f of x with g and then differentiate. This means first differentiate f, whatever you get, replace x's in the derivative with g of x. and the chain rule tells you that they are not the same unless g prime of x is 1. You have to understand that. Any questions? Okay, so let us go to the next problem. So I have to, that is the same idea, but I'm designing in different notations and symbols so that you get used to it. Here, if y is equal to f of x squared minus 1, and f prime of x equals to x squared plus 1, then dy dx at x equals to minus 1 is equal to what? Okay, you can think a little bit until I clean the board. Okay, could you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is now very simple. Now you understand what is supposed to be done, yes? Only thing that I have done, I have used this symbol to, you know what is the meaning of this. This means just y prime, if x is variable. And I want to calculate y prime when x is minus 1. So in principle, in other words, I want to calculate this. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to calculate the derivative, but be careful. Some people still want to write this. I hope that you are not among them, yes? Y prime is not this, yes? Because y is, what is y? It means that a function f is given, we don't know what is that, we know f prime, okay? But I want to know what is the derivative of this function. So in f, there was an x probably, I replace all those x's with this combination, this becomes my new function y, and I want to differentiate it. So when I say y prime, I do not mean f prime of x squared minus 1. What do I mean?
All of it total.
All of its prime. All of it prime is the chain rule. I can flip the prime sign here, but the price that I have to pay is to do what? To multiply by the derivative of the inner function. But the inner function is just 2x. If you don't mind, let me write it on the left. Yes? Okay. But now you want to calculate it when x is minus 1. So this is y prime. I want to calculate y prime at minus 1. So I have to replace every x with minus 1. And let us continue. This becomes minus 2. This becomes f prime of what? 0. Yes? But what is f prime of 0? Because f prime of x is directly given to me, so what is f prime of 0? It is just 0 to power 2 plus 1, which is 1. So it becomes minus 2 times 1, which is minus 2. Yes? Okay, let us go to the next question. So, if this limit is this, then the derivative of this combination at x equals to 3 is equal to one of these options. Which one? But I think you know what to do now, yes? This is just formality. What is the meaning of this guy? It is f prime of x. Yes? Okay, so let us go to the board. This is given to us, the limit of f of x plus h minus f of x over h goes to 0, is given to be x over square root of 1 plus x cubed. But we know that this is a very strange way of course I could make the question a little bit harder. I will reserve it for the exam, okay? I will not expose it. So be ready that in the exam, I will bring a much harder one, okay? But this is a simple one. So f prime of x equals to x over the 1 over x. This is the information given to us, yes? But the rest of the question is again the same. Then the derivative of, so derivative of what? F of square root of x plus 1 at x equals to 3 is wanted. But let us concentrate on this phrase. Derivative of this, does it mean f prime here or totally prime? Now you understand it is always totally prime. So this means that I have to calculate f of square root of x plus 1 totally prime. This is what they mean. And then I calculate the whole expression when x is equal to 3. Okay, so what I will do, I will write it like this. You know that I can flip it inside, but the price to pay is to do what? To multiply by the derivative of the inner function. But the derivative of the inner function is also a minimal chain rule, but it is very simple by now, hopefully. So this becomes this one, I copy and paste. What is the derivative of this? Take this one u in your head. So the derivative of square root of u is 1 over 2 square root of u, which is the same combination, but multiplied by u prime. But u prime is accidentally 1, so you don't need to write anything. Yes? But in principle, you have to think in that way, x plus 1 prime. So this is your derivative. If I call it y, for example, if I call this one y, what I want to calculate is y prime of 3. So it means that the question mark means to replace this with 3. Yes? So the question mark is equal to f prime of a square root of 3 plus 1 multiplied by 1 over 2 square root of 3 plus 1. Okay, 3 plus 1, 4, square root of 4 is 2. So this becomes f prime of 2, and then this becomes 1 over 4. Yes? But for calculating f prime of 2, I have to use this. Yes? So what is f prime of 2? This is f prime of x. I want f prime of 2, so I have to replace x with 2. So this becomes 2 over square root of 1 plus 2 to the power of 3, and then multiply by that. So this is 8 plus 1, 9. Square root of 9, 3. So 2/3 and 1, 4. Because what? 1 over 6, is that right?
1 over 6.
Is that right? Yes.
I got 1 over 3, so maybe I made a mistake.
Let me see. This is 2 over, yes. No, this is 3, 2 over 3. And then multiplied by 1 over 4, it becomes 2 over 12. So 1 over 6 is correct. So 1 over 6 is correct. So then you choose this one. Okay, these questions together with the questions, do you remember about diagrams? Because there were good problems in the book, so I didn't repeat them again. The idea was the same that we learned during the lesson. So yes, so these are actually the harshest question that you might face in the chain rule, conceptually. Okay, any questions? Thank you.